So you want to move to Alaska. Just don't be another one of those people who comes here with unrealistic hopes and dreams from what you've learned from watching so many YouTube videos of someone telling you they live for free homesteading after they bought cheap land and built their own cabin. Just like the people who tell you they live in their cars to save money or to live for free, nobody is telling you the beginning, the middle, or the end of their story. YouTube videos on homesteading and living in cars or building your own homes have become nothing more than online reality TV shows. In these videos, you have someone explaining to you how they live with no monthly payments and how they live for free, or the videos show you one person or one couple building an entire log cabin all on their own so they can homestead. These videos are not made with the intention of showing you how that kind of life is, or what you need to prepare yourself for if you're planning on doing it. They are purely for entertainment. You're not seeing 98% of what is actually going on. Take the videos of people supposedly living in their cars because it's cheaper to live that way. We see very young people who spent more money decorating the inside of their vans than rent would cost most of us for the next 6 months. Add in the cost of gasoline, membership so you can shower somewhere, and the cost of a motel and car repairs when their car breaks down. If you really think hard about it, none of it makes any sense. How many of these people are just driving out to a certain area to make videos and in 2 hours they're going to go back home, park the car in their driveway, and go to sleep in their bed? They can wake up the next morning and drive to the same spot and show you they stay there overnight and are really living on the road. But the videos about people living in their vehicles that I find the most amusing are those showing a person in their van at nighttime, whispering or telling us how a stranger was knocking on their door or making noises outside their vehicle when they're apparently in the middle of nowhere. And then the scene always changes to that person being under their blankets looking scared, like Freddy Krueger is going to be entering the scene in any second. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but if I'm sleeping in the back of my van in the middle of nowhere at nighttime and I feel like there's a dangerous person standing outside of my vehicle, the last thing I would probably decide to do is to start recording, get under my blankets, and hug my pillow for safety while looking scared. I think we can all agree a sane person would probably jump into the driver's seat and drive away to a new, safer spot to spend the night. But let's get back to moving to Alaska because you want to live in a cabin in the woods in a remote area so that you can homestead and live for free. The first thing to consider is, unlike popular belief, there are no doctors living inside of trees in the forest giving you free healthcare. Healthcare costs money. We all know that. The next thing to consider is you're going to need money to come to Alaska and stay somewhere while you search for land that you can afford. You're going to need money to buy that land too, because it's unlikely the owner will be willing to trade it to you for a bag of potatoes. You may think you're going to buy land online without looking at it first, but chances are very high if you do that, you're going to wind up buying land you cannot build on, most often because it's marshland that is worthless, and you'll be going home in record-breaking time after losing a lot of money. But let's say you come to Alaska and you find somewhere to stay and you find property you want to buy after just 4 weeks. If it's property with a road system and it has electricity and water near or on the property, you can expect you're going to be paying between $2,000 to $20,000 per acre, depending on what area in Alaska you find the land. Now let's assume you don't have $10,000 or $80,000 just to spend on land. You want to really go cheap. You can purchase 20 acres of land for $20,000 or 5 acres of land for $4,000. This land will not have running water. It may or may not have electricity. It will most likely be well off the road system, and you would only be able to reach it by boat or plane or by a 2 hour long ATV ride down a path you possibly can't ride on during the winter time. I know I'm crushing a lot of dreams by saying what I'm saying, and I don't want to appear too negative. So let's say you actually find that perfect piece of property and you have the money to pay for it. You still need to pay someone or to have the vehicles yourself to bring all of the building materials to the spot where you want to build the cabin. And you need chainsaws and all of the other tools and accessories necessary for the work. So let's make the best case scenario. You bought some property on the road system shortly after arriving to Alaska, and you were also able to afford your own vehicles to transport any building materials that you needed, or you drove your own vehicles from the lower states to Alaska and brought all of your tools with you. But then I would have an interesting story to tell you. I met a couple that has a YouTube channel where they bought land in Alaska, drove their 2 trucks up from the lower states, and brought most of the tools that they needed, with the intention to build their own cabin and homestead. They explained to me that they sold their house and all of their belongings back home and were coming to Alaska because they wanted more free time and they wanted a cheaper way to live. After nearly 2 years, they had not completed their cabin yet, were running out of money, and are planning on going back home with the loss. What they said to me is what I think many people in their situation are feeling. They said they were fooled by YouTube channels that told them how easy it would be and how much more free time they would have to enjoy the lakes and nature and wildlife. They went on to explain to me that since arriving in Alaska, they actually have less free time than they did back home, as they still needed jobs while building and they had no free time because they used that time to build their cabin. The biggest reason it didn't work out for them was the cost to buy and transfer all of the building materials, which was about 5 times higher than they had estimated. They were doing it all on their own without friends helping them out when the cameras were turned off. They lost nearly everything they worked their whole lives for, except for their 2 trucks. They'll get some money back for the land and incomplete cabin when they can sell it, but it'll be for a lot less money than they actually purchased it for. And selling land in Alaska is not easy and often takes a while before you can find someone who is willing to pay a fair price for it. I'm not saying there's nobody who's living in their car and telling the truth. And I'm not saying there's nobody on YouTube who is building a cabin alone and not having friends or paying someone to do most of the work when the cameras are turned off. I'm also not saying all of the people in YouTube videos who claim to be homesteading are not. I've met people who have done it right and have not given up and gone home. What I am saying is there are very few of them, and out of those very few, there's only a small percentage of them who are actually telling you all of the upfront cost, as well as how much it actually costs them to live this way. Most people will never see those videos because humans don't always want to hear the truth. They'd often rather hear what they want to hear. Unfortunately, there is no such thing as living for free in today's world. Land, tools, cars, and so on cost money to get started. Insurance, repairs, and more tools and materials cost money every month. Living cheap is not easy to do, even in a car or cabin in the woods. It's not that you can't do what you want to do when moving to Alaska, including finding land that you can afford. But trying to figure it all out from Texas or Oklahoma by watching YouTube videos is only going to cost you a lot of money, time, and frustration at the end of the day. And you'll wind up being the next person in line who is going home disappointed that Alaska was not what you were told it would be.